Hey sports fans, Coach Nick here, and welcome to BBallBreakdown. Are you guys excited about the season that's about to start? We already have some preseason games in the books, very exciting stuff, and over at our .com, do not miss our top 50 analysis, breaking down the top 50 players. Kawhi Leonard's coming up pretty soon, and I'll have a video for that, so stay tuned. But get over there and bookmark it right now. And don't forget about our podcast. It's fantastic stuff with really great guests, so stay tuned for that. Plus, lots of great stuff coming up before the actual season starts. So, if you didn't notice, Mike D'Antoni was quoted as saying they're going to use James Harden as a point guard more. If you haven't been watching the Rockets recently, then you probably would be surprised by that, but there's no question that his role fits well with what he can do and what we saw back in OKC. And that's what I've always said before, was that if they only had kept him and they moved Russ to the shooting guard position, they probably would have been a lot better off. But that said, here's what we looked at the OKC footage to show you how James Harden can truly be a traditional point guard. Going back in the time machine, it's always fun to play the what if game, and none was more tantalizing than what if OKC kept James Harden. You can see how comfortable he was back then in the point guard role, running the break and looking to set others up with a variety of perfectly timed passes with excellent touch and accuracy. He had a real knack for throwing the long bombs, teasing the defense by putting that ball within an inch of their grasp, but knowing only his teammates could catch it. Plus, he had some Magic Johnson flair in him, thrilling the crowd with awesome no-look passes that made him look like he was born to run the break. And he could take his time, under control, before using laser-like precision on his slip passes to cutters for easy dunks. In the half court, he also had an unparalleled ability to skip passes that created wide-open three-point shots for teammates. It wasn't just the power and accuracy, but the speed with which he could release the ball. These kinds of passes redefined floor spacing, since the defense had to respect his own three-point shot, plus his ability to drive, and the bolts of lightning he could throw by seeing over the top of the defense. There are simply very few players who possess the ability to consistently throw these, and without question made guys like Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook much better when Harden was running the show. And out of the pick and roll, if you tried to bump down on the roll man, he had that talent for finding the skip pass back over his body right on the numbers and right on time. In the pick and roll, it was clear Harden got the majority of his when Russell Westbrook was on the bench, allowing him free rein to run the second unit offense. And he would never force up a bad shot if he could set up a teammate for a better one. In these clips, it's certainly easy to see his natural point guard tendencies, probing the defense, willing to reject the ball screen for a little more territory, but never forcing it and always willing to give it up for an even better shot. He quickly became comfortable being the man, which is probably why it was tough to keep him in Oklahoma City. But here, he's doing his alpha impersonation with Russ on the bench, running the clock down, sucking the big man out of the lane with the threat of his jump shot, and slipping the pass to the roller for the layup. He had all the moves in the pick and roll too, including splitting it, sucking in the defense, then threading the needle to set up the easy shot. And quite honestly, I always felt they were much better when Russ was in the game alongside Harden, allowing Harden to be the point guard and Russ able to use his athletic gifts as a cutter and finisher. And on this one, he demonstrates the split of the defenders plus the no-look to Ibaka for the dunk. Again, look what happens when Russ gave the ball up and let Harden run the show. Harden could read the floor and take his pick of open shots he'd like to create. While the OKC offense back then was pretty stagnant, they did have some D'Antoni principles while using the high post to attack. One could easily picture Nash and Stoudemire running this two-man game at the elbow to initiate the attack. And look how dangerous they could be when Harden would get it on the elbow and Russ would set his obligatory pin down for KD, an easy 2 points off a great pass. Here is elbow get, right out of D'Antoni's playbook. And if they can get Harden back on the elbow more, you'll see plenty of more setups for guys like Clint Capella this year. Once more, here's elbow get with a non-threat like Collison screening for him, and they still get a gorgeous bounce pass for a layup out of this. Much of D'Antoni's offense attacks out of the corners, and we could see back then how natural Harden was in running the two-man game from this area of the floor, allowing for guys like Beverly to bring the ball up and making Harden that much harder to guard when starting from so many different spots. While the attack in Houston was radically different last year, we still saw evidence of the willing passer who could make his teammates better with his gravity. We saw a lot less of the spectacular passing and more of the simple plays that still proved effective and certainly resembled that of a traditional point guard. There just wasn't a lot of movement in the offense, and it made it a lot harder for everyone involved to get off good, makeable shots. But for anybody surprised about D'Antoni saying Harden would play point guard, you must have missed quite a bit of last season, where he'd bring it up and run the pick and roll to perfection on a regular basis. And I hope you can see that by going back to a faster offense where the ball and the players move much more fluidly, we'll most likely be treated to a special season from James Harden, where he serves as the go-to guy to make everything happen.